with Aunt Elizabeth, the podcast inspired by my book, I'm a Registered Dietitian, Now What?, where I have the absolute joy to sit back, relax, and have a conversation about nutrition with a variety of people who share their personal story of passion and purpose, especially registered dietitians. Today's conversation is with Sarah Cortese, a registered dietitian with a lot of sass and a love for collecting cookbooks. With my new year in full swing, February is now over, I'm getting more focused on my nutrition and upping my protein game. Me personally, I really definitely need that because I've noticed I do so much better by building muscle with more protein in my diet, which is not for everyone, but it definitely is for me. This is where Nick Sticks save the day for me. Nick Sticks are the best tasting snack sticks I have ever found, and I really love the spicy turkey flavor the best. There's no MSGs, no nitrates, no antibiotics, no sugar, no gluten, and no red dye. All of the goodness, none of the garbage, and just the protein. To learn more, go to nicksticks.com. A couple of podcasts ago, I mentioned a Registered Dietitian Summit I went to, sponsored by Midwest Dairy and the National Pork Board. I was fortunate enough to meet new registered dietitian friends, which is always fun in my book. At our first dinner meet and greet, when we arrived, we introduced ourselves to the group, and I knew instantly when I met Sarah that we would connect and be friends. Sarah is a realistic dietitian who cares deeply for the community and meeting people where they are in their wellness journey. She resides in Oklahoma, is a proud mom, has a passion for long-term care, and has worked as a retail dietitian, and now she is ready for her next adventure. Please enjoy my conversation with Sarah. Have you always lived in Oklahoma?
Yes, I grew up in Oklahoma. Okay. And I went to the University of Oklahoma. And then the day after I graduated, I moved to Tennessee. And then I lived there for 8.5 years, and then I moved home.
Gotcha.
So yes. You've
had a different atmosphere for a while.
Yes, I loved it, and I would still be back there if I could. But, life takes a certain course, and you just kind of have to roll with it. But yes, it was beautiful there, and I loved it. And, people say it was so far away from your family, but to me it was, and I know that sounds awful, but it was perfect. So,
sure.
I'd still talk to my mom every day, but it was, you only saw everyone. So it was when you came home, it was like really nice. And so it seems, there's a reason that you grow up and you move away, even if it's just down the street.
Sure, yes. Absolutely.
I literally grew up there because I was fresh out of college, 22 years old, bought my first car, had my first place. Had to pay all my bills, was by myself. I had to learn a lot. So a lot of people took me under their wing there, and I still have dear friends there. So I miss it, but it is what it is. I like being home and around different people. I've got to, reconnect some relationships here. So, I kind of got the best of both worlds. So it's no big deal.
Well, probably your first dietitian job as well, correct?
Yes, my first dietitian job was out there, and it was in long-term care. And the facility that I worked there is actually a full-time dietitian in that facility, and really kind of sparked my passion for geriatrics because I literally love old people. And even though the path that I'm on right now is not quite where that was going, that really kind of grasped at me. And especially in that facility, everything that they did where, sometimes, geriatric facilities will get bad names. That place was amazing. And everything that they did for their, residents made me fall in love with it even more. And so I worked there for actually 6.5 years. And then when I moved outside of Memphis, I also worked at a long-term care. And it wasn't until I moved here and I was doing consulting, because I've only been in retail for the last 2.5 years. So I've done geriatrics for the first 12.5 years of my career.
When you went to college, were you wanting to be a dietitian from the get-go?
No. I knew I wanted to go into the health field. My mom was in the health field. I was fascinated by science. Math is not my greatest subject. So, I knew I didn't want to go into business. I knew I didn't want to go into accounting or anything like that. My dad was into computers, which he taught me a lot, but I knew I wanted to go into healthcare. So I went and the more I thought about it, well, you had to take your intro courses, and I took intro to nutrition, which helped because I had started out going physical therapy, which I didn't really know if that's what I wanted to do, but I thought, we'll see. And after I took nutrition, the professor that taught it there, who actually, was a big part of the program now, or was then, but also continues to be, I loved his class. And so, one of the things that I remember is we had to do a project. And what you had to do was you had to calculate, your calories and everything, but you had to do a full out to eat meal plan. So like you could use McDonald's or you could use whoever, but it had to be all out to eat. You couldn't eat anything, that you got at the store, that you had from home. And so you had to, and to me, as a high school or in going into college student, where that's the majority of what a lot of them eat, or things that, are not the greatest, it kind of was an eye opener to say, hey, and then when you look, now 15 years, 20 years later, that there are better options. He was just a great professor. And so after I took that class, I went and I said, first of all, I'm ready to get out of school. So what's the fastest way I can get out? And, what is, and I know that sounds awful, but, she asked me, she goes, well, are you in a class now that you really like? And I said, well, actually, I'm in intro nutrition. I really do like that class. And she goes, well, have you ever thought about being a dietitian? And I said, well, no, actually, I haven't. And so she showed me the coursework and I was like, well, this is actually pretty cool. And so from then it was just hardcore studying and trying to get into the program. And and that was it.
And you got in.
Yes. And I've loved it ever since. I do find myself to be a little old school in some things, but I'm also a little more blunt than most people. And I'm a little more, I'll tell you what I think, but then some things I'll tell you if it's new and fatty and I think it's kooky, you'll know it. Like, that's just how I am. But I've been that way my whole life. I've learned to rein it in a little bit, but I think that kind of makes me who I am. But with the job that I'm in now, I mean, I really can use my creativity and I can, let that outlet out a little bit, because I still do some consulting on the side. So I still get to see some patients, but.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. And then when you think about, that, because you've kind of had a variety of jobs, and the long-term care kind of seems to be something that, was it kind of always your intent to get into long-term care, or was it just something that kind of happened by chance that you found out that you really liked?
Yes, it happened by chance, because when I moved to Tennessee, I didn't know anyone. And so I actually just took the first job I could, because I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to find a job.
Don't you think that's what dietitians do though in the beginning? Like, we're just like, oh my gosh, I got to take the first job that comes along.
I think so, because really it was the first job that I was like, oh, okay. Because now that I look back at it, and not that I have anything against clinical, I just don't see myself that could ever function as a clinical dietitian in a huge hospital. Now, I have done some clinical when I did consulting here in Oklahoma, that I was the only dietitian in a small town hospital. Okay. And I loved that. But as far as being in a huge, I don't know how I would function in that. And again, you don't know how you are until you're in that situation, but that's not something that I've ever really wanted to pursue. So once I started at this facility, and then you just fall in love with the people. So, I'm fascinated by Alzheimer's. I'm fascinated by, you see a lot of people who have, diseases or cancer, and how that really does affect someone's appetite, and it affects, their taste buds, and trying to get them to eat, and not just saying, oh, well, let's put them on a supplement. Like, I had people, I had one, all they wanted was blue Jello. Well, okay, we went to the store and got blue Jello because you couldn't get it through, our distributor or whatever. And, granted, there's not a whole lot of nutrition to that, but it was a lot of their fluid, because they would either drink it after we made it, or they would eat it. And I mean, so we would try to add that so that they knew at the end of their meal, oh, I'm getting this blue Jello. And I don't know if it was because they liked the flavor, or if it was blue, but it's just stuff like that. And then they may not remember me that I'm Sarah, and they may not remember me that I'm a dietitian, but they can remember a whole lot from back in the day, and to sit and to talk to them, because they'll talk forever. Sure. Which for me is perfect, because I love to talk too. So, yeah. So it was, and I just, from there on, it just kind of built and built and built. And I've, that's where my when I want to read about things, or I'm looking, scrolling on the internet, or something comes through, those kind of things catch my eye more than, say, pediatrics or oncology or something else. Just, it's geriatrics for some reason.
You're drawn to that, which I think it takes a special person to be in geriatrics because it's kind of like pediatrics. You just need to, it's a different kind of nutrition. It's a different kind of dealing with people.
Yes. Yes.
I can see you being so awesome at that.
Well, I'm a firm believer in you have to do what you love. And, I have a caring personality, but I also know that, if you have to wake up and you feel like work is work and you dread it, then you're not where you need to be. I mean, we all wake up and say, oh, I just really don't want to go to work today, but I never have the feeling like I don't want to go to my job. I love my job, and each one that I've been in, I've loved for certain reasons. And so it doesn't feel like work. Now, when you work in long-term care, you do have the side of, unfortunately you lose people, and unfortunately, different things will happen. And, it is hard to leave that at work, and you usually don't, but you learn to cope with those types of things, and you meet the families and you continue to see the families and different things like that. And a lot of the times, even when those family members, if they are so, involved in that person's care, even when that person passes on, they want to come back and volunteer because they do get to know the person's roommate, or they get to know the staff or the fun things that we did there. And so they want to help with, making apple butter or making chili or, calling bingo or whatever it may be. So it's kind of becomes a small family like atmosphere. And I just really thrive in that atmosphere. So
you kind of said that, you guys did some really unique things at your care facilities that you worked at that you thought was really awesome. So maybe share with me some of the things that, as a dietitian, you never thought you'd ever do in your job.
I made apple butter outside on the copper kettle. And it was really cool because it was great for therapy because the residents, they would cut the apples and they would peel them and everything like that. And then they had made a huge, wooden spoon for, I don't know the word you're looking for, spoon, but they had a huge copper kettle. We built a fire outside in the parking lot. And the residents came out, wheelchairs, walking residents, whoever, staff. And literally we were out there. It was usually did it around September, October. So it was just fall. And we're literally out there stirring apple butter. And then of course they sold the apple butter for the activities. And it's super tasty. So everybody always got apple butter and we always ran out and things like that. But it was just, it's apples. And so it was great for me to be like, yeah, you can have this. And they felt like they were doing something, and it's not like they're just sitting around waiting for meals to come, which in long-term care, a lot of things are centered around food because that's really the only thing that they can control as far as I'm not going to eat this or I am going to eat that because everything else is so regimented. But I've done that. We did chili cook-offs, and so the residents would make a pot of chili, and then each of the different departments would make chili. And of course, we'd have judges, like celebrity judges from around the town. So like somebody from the news or somebody from the radio, and they would come and judge. And of course, the residents won, but it was just so much fun. And then not that it had anything to do with dietetics, but they had a Valentine's sweetheart ball. And we dressed up all the residents. So like the women got their hair done, really nice dresses. We had a big band. They picked a king and a queen, and they had so it had really, but we were always there. So even little stuff like that I got to help with, really, once they got to know me, it really helped. Cause, I had some challenging residents, and, once they knew it was she really does care about she does care about me going and asking them, hey, can you eat a little bit? Or can you try this? Or, one that I really had to try to lose weight. Sometimes they frustrate you so greatly, but then she knew that I only had my best interest for her. And so I would, try to approach it in different ways. But when you have done all of these small things to you, but are so big to them, then you can see that they know that you care. And so they're more apt to, okay, Sarah wants me to try this diet, or Sarah wants me to, eat just a little bit more or drink a little bit more or whatever it may be. They're more apt to do it just because you've acted it. Again, going back to, it's like a huge family, and it's such a great feeling. I made a cookbook while I was there, and we had all the residents and the residents' families and the staff members put recipes in. And so we bound a cookbook. That was one of my favorite things I think I did.
Well, and you love cookbooks. That's like your, that's like
yes. Yes. I collect cookbooks.
How many do you have?
Oh, I don't really know, to be honest. I would be afraid to count. I love vintage cookbooks. And so, everybody knows that. And they're like, hey, my grandma had, I'm like, hey, yeah, definitely. Like, but, then I also have other cookbooks too. So, I probably have close to 200.
Oh my goodness.
Between at work and at home. And it's funny because 9 times out of 10, like, I don't even use recipes except for, if I'm trying something new or I see something on, Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. But usually when I'm making stuff at home, it's I throw it together because I cook all the time or different things like that. So, my favorite recipes that I bake, because that's what I really like to do, I kind of know by heart. So the vintage ones, I'll just keep like, oh, I really like that one, but I probably haven't even opened it up to look at it yet. Like one of my favorites that I love the cover is A Gone with the Wind cookbook. I actually did look in that one, but I don't think I'll ever make anything out of it. There's one recipe I might try, but I just liked it because it had scarlet on the front.
Sure. No, that's interesting. Like, I think that's interesting that you collect. Well, and I think it's just like anything that you collect. It's just you have an interest in them. It doesn't mean you have to cook out of them. But if you ever want to, there's the option.
Oh yeah, it would take me like, probably a full month to just come up with 1 week of recipes if I went through all the cookbooks that I really wanted to.
Well, and these you must have like different themes and different. I mean, probably from all over the world type of cooking. And that's fun. That's fun.
Yes, there are some. There's lots of sweet cookbooks just because sweets are my jam.
What's your favorite thing to bake?
Oh gosh, probably brownies, just because everybody likes those. But my grandmother, when I was little, she used to make me these carrot cookies, and it's not like carrot cake cookies. They're really like melt in your mouth. They're made with Crisco, if that tells you anything. And and so that's what I always ask for my birthday. And I've probably made, I don't know how many batches, but it's so fascinating because my grandma's now gone, but my dad loves them too. And he's like, you're the only one that can make it. And he goes, I never really thought that I would ever say that. He goes, but yours are the closest. Even my aunt who had tasted my grandmother's cookies, she's like, yeah, these are almost like hers. And that makes me feel good because there was lots of failed attempts and lots of crying. And like every time, I've only moved like 3 times since then, but like have to know, okay, this is the amount of time that it takes. So I know in my current oven, it takes 7 minutes on parchment to where they're exact.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah. So, I mean, just stuff like that. But those are my favorite, and I don't have to have the recipe for that because I can just kind of whip them out. But my whole entire family likes them. And the thing with that one is like you can't double it. So when I do it, I have to make 2 batches, but I have to do 2 separate batches and clean different bowls and different things like that because I've tried to double it and it screwed it up.
Huh.
So you learn those types of things too.
Yeah, along the way.
Yeah. So
that's neat that you have a cookbook from your long-term care. I mean, that's a great memory.
Yes,
to have
and I love that one. Mm-hmm.
That's really neat.
Yes.
So you kind of leave your mark just in special ways in your jobs.
Yes, mostly for the positive. Mostly.
Sure. What do you think the biggest challenge? I mean, like you mentioned, like the client that was challenging for you, but like if you think about if a dietitian came up to you and said, hey, I'm thinking about going into long-term care, what do you think are the biggest positives and the biggest things that are the most challenging?
Really hone your skills on tube feedings. Now, most long-term care here, we don't use TPN, obviously, for the reasons. And I didn't have to know all the different specialties, which that stuff has changed so much. But I did know about the specialized different feedings. And again, I maybe had at one time the most tube feeders I had is 12, which to someone who doesn't normally work with tube feeders, that sounds like a lot. But when they're maintained, it really is not that terrible. But another thing is, you have to be, you have to care. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's healthcare. And I mean, you actually have to, be into it because you know that you want to better their life. And that's why I went into healthcare, is because I wanted to help people. And I knew that I was not going to make it as a marketing person because yes, I can talk to anybody, but I can't sell anything. I mean, that's not my thing. And so going into it, I just knew that, know the most that you can and don't be afraid to A, admit that you don't know, and B, you should learn something new every day. And I do learn something new every single day, and I have for my, almost my entire career. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be, about your job. I mean, everybody should know how to change a tire. Yes, we have AAA, and yes, you may have people that come and do it, but if you've ever been stuck on the side of the road, either in the scorching heat or the freezing cold, and you're out in the middle of nowhere or you have no cell service, I hope you know how to change your tire. So, I mean, just different things like that, But
no, I think that's a good point.
The most challenging thing, I tell all the interns that come in, because I think this is a good life lesson. There's always going to be people in life that you may not like, that you may not get along with, but you have to work with them. So you have to be civil. Do you have to hang out with them outside of work? Absolutely not. But don't leave a job because you don't necessarily like someone. Leave a job because you don't like the job, that you're going to make it better, because the grass is not always greener on the other side. It's just how much you water your side. So if you know that, I struggle with this person, try to find some type of, because I know there's people that struggle with me because I am so blunt, and some people are not like that. They're like, I wish she would hush. She's loud. And, but I've learned to cope with the people that are very different than me, that are very, shy and reserved, and they don't quite get my morbid and blunt sense of humor. So that's one of the biggest things that I teach people is there's always going to be negatives to something in life. It's just really how you put the spin on it.
I like that. I think that's really good. That's a really good point. And I think you're right. Like nothing is ever going to be perfect, but you just have to figure out what does it look like for you, and what do you like and what you don't like, and don't let people influence that part of it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So, okay. So now you moved back to Oklahoma. You've been back there for how many years now?
A little over 7.
Okay. And you have done your own consulting business kind of on the side. So you do some individual nutritional counseling, or what kind of?
Well, I did. I actually work for a consultant firm.
Okay.
I've done some stuff on my own, but not a whole lot. I worked for a consulting firm. So with them, I actually worked for a hospital 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days a week, I worked at long-term care facilities all over Oklahoma. So I traveled every single day. But
how was that?
Yes. But, it kind of was a struggle just because you're in the car all the time and it gets so monotonous. And, I didn't realize, once my children started growing and I was missing out on things, I knew it was time that I needed to find something that was closer to home, but I still, consult a little bit on the side, but I learned so much in that job, and ironically, it wasn't in the long-term care side. But it was in the working at that small hospital as the only dietitian. And what I loved there was because it's a smaller hospital, and there's 2 physicians as far as that were hospitalists, and then they had we had 1 pediatrician, we had 1 nurse practitioner, and nurses, and most of these people are from right there in this small town, and so you develop a relationship with the physicians, and they respect you, and they'll call you at home and say, hey, I just had this patient come in, and it may be 10 o'clock at night. I had this patient come in. Can you calculate the TPN for me? Absolutely. Like, for somebody to trust you enough to call you at home and say, hey, I've already got your height and weight, and I already have this, I already have that. They knew what I needed, which, again, from a physician and a dietitian standpoint, looking at that relationship, for them to realize, okay, I know that I want her to do it, but I know that she's going to need these things before I get it to her, and they have it ready for me when I do that, was just, was awesome. And, I had to have surgery 2 years ago. I had it in that hospital. I had those physicians operate on me, and I saw those nurses, and just because I knew who they were, I trusted them. They were caring people. So that was amazing. So I had the best of both worlds when it came to everything at that, because I got to do clinical, but I also did long-term care. And in long-term care, I I trained all the new people. I trained all the interns, and most of them have, move on because consulting is not for everyone, but, and long-term care is definitely not for everyone. But I don't know, for my career path has been difficult in smaller ways, but very fulfilling, and I'm very happy with every job that I've had. So I can't really complain about, any big things. There's always little things, but nothing big.
Sure. Well, and I think like traveling, I think all of that is a great experience because you experience different places and different people, but then that can also be.
Well, you haven't been to Oklahoma yet, have you, Ann?
When I was a lot younger, but not currently as an adult.
So not quite as exciting as, the trips we get to do as a retail dietitian, but,
Sure.
Yes, you do meet certain people, and you will realize that, smaller towns. When I moved from Oklahoma to Tennessee, one of the things that I had to get used to was the way that they spoke. And I'm not talking about the twang because I definitely developed that. I'm talking about, we say y'all. They say different words, a purse there is a pocketbook. So you had to get used to that. But then I also, and this sounds really funny, but when I talk to a lot of people, I had macaroni and cheese growing up. That was a meal in my house. Like you got a bowl of macaroni and cheese and, you might have had milk or a piece of fruit. In Tennessee, that's a side dish. It's a side dish that has not staple item at all. So, getting, and trying different things and realizing that there are different animals that people eat, and you have to respect that. Like working in long-term care there, they love chicken livers. I can't do chicken livers. Having to cook those when I was, 9 months pregnant, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But you just, and they devoured them. They loved them. And I knew that, on those certain days that there were people that I knew, like, they didn't want to eat, they didn't have an appetite. I knew they would eat that. And so I never took it off the menu because I knew that they would eat them.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. See, I would never think of that. Like you said that, like wherever demographic you're at, you don't know how diverse it can be.
So yeah, you'll learn lots of different things. So, I mean, I get to travel, but Oklahoma is not nearly as exotic as some of the other states in our nation.
That's true. But I'm sure like even across the state of Oklahoma, you see differences from one place to another and just the type of people and the type of people you work with. And like you said, the different types of food. So I would say like as a dietitian, if you don't want to be bored, that would be a really great constantly moving career.
Oh yeah. It's perfect if it's perfect if you just started out or, you like the freedom of kind of being your own boss, because really, I mean, I don't do well with micromanagement. So that, I knew what facilities I had to go to. I made my own schedule. I showed up. I knew what had to be done. And some days I would only work 4 hours, but some days I would work 12. And when state comes in the building and does, cause each nursing home has to have their state inspection, I was there. I've peeled pounds and pounds of potatoes in high heels because I didn't know they were going to come in that day. I've done a variety of different things. So, I mean, it was always something new. And, I basically did what I did and I enjoyed it because I didn't really have anybody telling me what to do because I don't function well in that kind of environment.
Totally understandable.
No.
I totally get it.
So that's what I like about this job too. So
so let's talk about creative your current job.
So I am a retail dietitian. We have 3 dietitians. We are the only retail dietitians in Oklahoma. So right now, one of our biggest challenges, although it's gotten better, is people knowing that we exist, because they don't realize that other, up in the Northeast or in the South, that retail dietitians are a big deal. People here are like, what does a dietitian at a grocery store do? But we have a lot of freedom. So we do see we do have consults, and we do see, different types of, we'll have some consultations or we'll do a meal plan, but most of ours is community based. So we do a lot of stuff with schools. We do a lot of stuff with libraries, corporate wellness. We've teamed up with the local YMCA, and we do cooking classes because they have an amazing kitchen, and we'll do, nutrition classes. I do summer camps for kids, which is really fun because most kids don't know what certain, like, you would be amazed how many kids don't know what a pear is. Like, it just is fascinating. Now, growing up, I ate fruits and vegetables, but when you're looking at a lot of places, especially when you're looking at either lower income demographics, I mean, they may have seen a pear, but it's from out of a can. So to teach them, this is a pear and a pear has 6 grams of fiber and this or that and the other, or they see that and they're like, oh, I didn't never seen that. And, for kids to know what avocados are is fascinating to me because I didn't know what an avocado was when I was little. And so I think it's great that so many, I love how nutrition changes, but working in a grocery store, I learned so much about, you don't realize when you go in, you're like, oh, you don't realize what happens behind the scenes. Even have nothing to do with nutrition. So you're like, oh, I didn't realize that I had to wait, to get this, and this, or, I didn't realize there's so many things I can't even, pinpoint one different thing, but, the camaraderie in a grocery store I really enjoy. A lot of the people will come to me and just ask, they feel comfortable coming to me and saying, hey, my mom's been diagnosed with A, B, and C. Is there something that I can help her with? And I feel so good that be like, yes, let me print you off this, or yes, let's do this. We've also, the store tours, we do all of the nutrition classes from the local community colleges, and we'll do, different groups. And it's amazing that people, when they hear about it, they're so excited. And the fact that I get to go and talk or make presentations, that's kind of my thing because, I love to teach. I just don't want to be a teacher per se, but I also like that, we can be creative. We do our own chalkboards in our store, and, we're currently in our weight loss challenge, and we're doing all different things. So every day is different. So, I definitely had to hone my social media skills. So I will say that if anybody is looking into going into retail dietetics, knowing trends and fads and things like that, and knowing how to do Facebook and Instagram and things like that is a plus, because as an older dietitian, I have not necessarily struggled because I've kind of come out of my shell and I've enjoyed it, but really grasping that in the beginning, I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. So that's one thing that I would recommend is to know how to do that, because I literally did not have an Instagram. I think I got it 9 months ago, something like that.
Okay. Sure.
So, yeah.
I would agree with you. I think that's a huge part. And I think of like what you said about, would you mind sharing what grocery store chain you do work for?
I work for Resource.
Okay. And is that just in Oklahoma, or is that in other parts of the country?
We are only located in Oklahoma. We have 18 stores. Oh. It started in Tahlequah, Oklahoma in I think it's 63. It's either 63 or 64. And, by Larry Reeser, and his son, Jeff, now runs it. And so we see him out in the stores, and it's amazing. And people know him, around town. I mean, he's Jeff Reeser. And, our program has only been around for about 4 years, but we're very passionate about local, and we have, local signs in our store that show, this is it. And we love to educate people about local. It's picked at peak. It's going to be a little bit cheaper, but one of the fun things that we really have done is for, Christmas, we do the 12 days of Christmas. And basically what we do, and the dietitians do this, because we have our own, Facebook and Instagram handle and different things like that. So what we did was we, got together with, local vendors from Oklahoma and said, hey, we want to do 12 days of giveaways. And we call it our 12 days of Christmas. And we, say, on the first day of Christmas, my local love gave to me. And we will highlight those products. And they don't necessarily have to be, dietitian proof for this, because we know it's all about moderation. It's all about enjoying food and life. So for instance, we had a local chocolate bar company, and, they donated the product, and then we showed it on Facebook and showed it on different things. And so we got to have 12 days literally of giveaways of the different local items around here, just because they're so thankful to the grocery store chain, obviously, for taking a chance on them. And for us, they help us out. And so I love that our chain is huge about local and huge about he says, offer the customers what they want to buy, not what you want to sell, is what he will always tell us.
That's interesting. That's a good message. And that's great that you guys have such a close knit kind of a family situation where you're supporting the local community. You support each other. You support the store. You see the boss, the big boss.
Yes.
In the stores. That's really cool.
A lot of the corporate is constantly in our stores, looking at this and what can be changed or making sure that, all the systems are in place, or, they come and they'll do certain things, when we started doing online shopping at Thanksgiving, there were corporate workers there doing online shopping because we had so many at Thanksgiving. So, it is a great, great company to work for. I couldn't ask for, especially coming into this, because when I applied for the job, I literally was like, I have no idea what this job entails.
Sure.
So, I've loved it and it's so amazing. But yes, it's definitely something different, but I do like that it's such a small chain that, we do know, our COO is our actual chain of command boss. And so, we have meetings at corporate every other week. And so we know a lot of those people, and, we have to deal with people in accounting because we do invoices and we do this and we do that. And so knowing a lot of those, especially marketing, because again, we do all of ours, we choose our dietitian approved through the ad. So learning how an ad works was kind of amazing. So just so many things. It's kind of fascinating. Some people may find it boring, but to me, it opens a whole new world because I don't do well with boredom.
So let's talk. So when you applied for the job, you saw the job and you were like, oh, this is a retail dietitian job. And you said you weren't really familiar with what was involved. I looked it up online because they had already had like 2 or 3 that were already there. And I thought, okay, well, that didn't tell me. So I did look it up and I saw some, bigger chains. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. But really it was, I was tired of traveling. I wanted to be there for my kids, and, I jumped feet first, and it's still a learning experience. It's been kind of fun. I'm, close to 9 years older than the girls on my team. And so it's been fun to kind of say, hey, this is what happens. Or they've so they're the ones that introduced me to Instagram. I'm like, oh, I had no clue that existed. Yeah. And so, and now that's just, that in my personal challenge, I have enjoyed, doing lots of different things. So when I started there, we, wanted to start a blog, and because, I just like to talk, and it's so therapeutic, but, just to get it out and, kind of tell what we do. Well, it started out as, Facebook notes, and now we actually have a blog on our website, but it's also filtered over into now it's like, man, I want to start my own blog. And not because I want that to be, it's hard work I've seen, and, not that I want it to make money. I want to be able to just, speak my mind, which you have to be very careful when you're representing a company. So I want to have the best of both worlds, I guess, again. So we'll see how that goes. And you're going to do, like you said, you're going to do so many different things. Every day is different. What's your favorite thing? What is your favorite thing about being a retail dietitian?
Ooh, I like when they send us the new products that we get to try.
That is fun.
But I love choosing dietitian approved products just because there's so many products out there that people don't know. So for instance, this week when we change, because we actually tag them in all of our stores. And so, this week, honey bunches of oats. Cereal is a huge thing in my house because I have 2 growing boys and we could go through cereal all the time. But, a lot of people, to me, and I don't like oatmeal. I struggle with oatmeal. I can do overnight oats, but I can't do warm oatmeal. I never have. I never will. But, a lot of people would assume cold cereal is kind of like, bran flakes or shredded wheat without any sweetener. And it doesn't have to be like that. Honey Bunches of Oat meets our criteria, which is based off the dietary guidelines for Americans. So it's not like something we just pulled out of nowhere. And so to show people that, there are certain lunch meats, major chains of lunch meat that actually meet. There are certain, whole fat yogurts. I mean, lots of different things that people will be like, oh, I can't have that. Yes, you can, and you don't have to, there's still guilt behind food. And I know that we are all jumping on the no diet, bandwagon. I love that because I've never been a no diet. I've never been a dietitian. So I love that. But it just goes to show that so many more items are healthier for you. I don't like using good and bad just because I love chocolate. So, and I love sweets. So I will always tell you the better option, and stressing serving sizes and teaching label reading is so important. And I like to do that because people, the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, well, I can still enjoy that. Yes, you can't have the whole cake, but you can have a piece of cake. And I love that you can provide all of these different options for them, so that the mundane boredom that a lot of people have when they're day to day because they just don't know what else to make. And they think that, you have to sit down and make a 4-course dinner when you really don't. It is very easy to make a dinner every night, or make your lunch every day at work. So you're not spending a lot of money doing, meal prep. Does it take an hour on Sunday? Yeah, it does. But it frees up so much during the week, and that you're getting something. And then if you want to add something that's not quite as healthy, for lack of a better word, you can. So that's one of my favorite things.
It is. That's a fun part. And I think it's fun because my thing is, I think that in the grocery store, that's where food means the most. And so I think that's why it's so great to have a dietitian be able to go show them this cereal, or to go show them this other healthier option, the better option in a lunch meat. If they're going to eat it, let's help them find the better choice. Right. So that's awesome that you get that opportunity.
Yes.
Do you struggle, you mentioned the no diet dietitian, and I'm 100% with you, but how do you feel about the new products? I think, do you ever get any backlash from the public, from other dietitians? Since you are a person that's around products and you're promoting products, do you ever find that to be an issue?
Sometimes, yes. And especially when, and this may, cause an uproar, but the keto diet is so big right now, and it's so not, I don't promote it. And so when you have people come in or there are these huge words like Whole30 and different things like that. And, back when, we know so much about gluten-free now. And it for celiacs, it's amazing everything that we've learned and everything that we can do. But, when it first came out, to me, it was a little faddish, and people are like, oh, it's gluten-free. And, you'll see gluten-free on water or different things, and people will be like, hey, and I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And that is hard. I've recommended, when I was working in clinical, I almost always recommended a multivitamin. And a lot of dietitians, and I'm still old school like that, a lot of dietitians are like, well, why do you always recommend it? And I mean, if people are eating healthy, then they shouldn't need it. Well, 9 times out of 10, if you're seeing a dietitian, you're not eating healthy, or you're needing them for something. So whether it be for weight loss, and most people don't know how to lose weight the proper way. And so they are missing certain micronutrients, especially if you're jumping on a fad diet bandwagon, or you're just doing, smoothie meal or something like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that. You just want to make sure that you're getting everything that you need. So you have somebody coming who's not eating very well. I recommend a multivitamin because they're at least going to get something. Now, once they start eating better, you don't have to take it, but I got a lot of that. I still do a lot. And of course, I don't see as many, but when I was in the hospital, they would get so tired of it. And I'm like, these people are sick, or they need this and they're missing it out. If they don't want it, that's fine. And one of the things was they always thought it was weird that I would, recommend gummies, because a lot of those people can't tolerate a lot. I personally can't tolerate iron. And so somebody's saying, you can have children's gummies? Absolutely. You can have Flintstones if you want it. It's better than the alternative of you not having anything when you are missing out on those. So that's one of the things that people will look at. But when you're recommending certain things, or when you say you're having a gluten-free tour, it's actually to show people who may have been first diagnosed, or who may be looking for new products that are out there that they haven't seen, or, think, oh, I can't ever have bread again, when you really can. And so, you'll see that, and people like, oh, well, she's just doing that because it's gluten free or it's whatever. And then you can insert anything into gluten free. It could be, whatever. It is just
like
they
water.
think that you're, yeah, exactly. There's always going to be someone in the world that disagrees with you. And it's, it's like, sweeteners or this or that or the other. You're going to find evidence to support how you believe, and you're going to find evidence to negate how you believe. So you just really need to be passionate, make sure that you can back up what you say. But then it's all in all, if that's what makes you feel good and that's what you believe in, and then, that is what it is. If they don't agree with you, that's fine. I can have a healthy conversation with someone and say, I totally disagree with you, but I will still listen to what you have to say. I read both sides when it comes to different things like that, because when somebody says, oh, I haven't heard that. Well, I don't want to look like a complete idiot when it comes to somebody and I can't back up what I'm trying to say. So at least I can say, I've seen your point, but here's my point, and we can just agree to disagree. So.
Sure. And I think that goes with like clients.
Anything.
I think it goes with dietitians. It goes with your parents. It goes with,
yes, exactly.
With anybody that your children, anybody that you associate with. So I think that's a good point. And I think dietitians, there's a whole movement that dietitians just need to be supportive of each other and at least back up why you believe in something, or why you like a product, or why you like a type of eating plan, because that's something that you believe in. Like you said, you kind of are an older school way of thinking dietitian. So, you believe in a multivitamin, and that's great. I totally understand, and I see why, and I would agree with you. And I think that's a good message that all of us dietitians just need to be like, hey, I'm on your team. I might not agree with you 100%, but we're on the same team.
Right. Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. So when it comes to your job, do you see yourself working in retail for a while? Is that something that, like you said, you liked long-term care? Do you like retail kind of in the same way? Or do you see yourself maybe going back to long-term care?
I don't know. I love where I'm at right now. I think that, it might be cool to, kind of move up the ladder and see how it goes. But I love that, again, every day is different. So I like that this job, and even when I was with long-term care, I was still doing a whole lot of charting. But now that everything's gone a lot of, on the computer, I'm not the biggest fan of charting anymore, because I really liked being able to hand chart, just because, it didn't feel cookie cutter, and it was more personal. And, I really felt like I was making a difference. And when you're just clicking a box and everybody looks the same except for a different. That's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, so I don't remember what I was talking about.
We were talking about, I know, I wrote it down. We were talking about kind of how you see, you're in retail now, you are in long-term care. Do you kind of see yourself staying in retail? Do you kind of see yourself changing? You said you're kind of really happy where you're at.
Yes. So for right now, I like what I'm doing. I get, everything's different every day, and we get to do so many different activities and see different people. And so, it may be nice to, move up the ladder per se one of these days. I don't see myself going back to consulting just because, I enjoy it, but I think that, there's bigger and better things to come doing what I'm doing now. And so, hopefully it'll open some more doors. I've met so many people, yourself included, in this short amount of time that, has just really opened up relationships everywhere. So I enjoy that and learn so much more. And so, for right now, I'm good where I'm at, but I'm always open to anything, but for right now, I'm good.
Well, and I think like you said, retail dietetics is just so open. It's evolving so much. It's kind of newer, and there is so much opportunity. And like you said, there could be room for growth within your company, which I think that's exciting.
I hope so. I don't know for sure, but there's dietitians that are moving into corporate roles, and there's dietitians that are starting whole new things. So you just never know. And again, as long as you're doing something you love and you get paid for it, I mean, it's, you can't lose there.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, I thought it was awesome that we got to meet each other just by chance through a thing that we attended together for
Yes.
dairy and the pork board. And that was a fun, and that's another aspect about being a retail dietitian. Like you mentioned, you get to attend different kind of functions.
Yeah. You get to birth a pig.
You did do that, didn't you?
I did. And that was so fun. So,
did you ever think as a retail dietitian, you'd get to birth a pig?
I never thought in my life I would birth a pig. So, I'd been around cattle, but no. And it was so fun telling everybody because, the process is quite amusing. And the fact that, I have picture documentation, that was perfect. But it is a miracle of life too. I mean, it's just my coworkers were laughing at me because they're like, "Oh my gosh, Sarah, you're making the face of like literally you're seeing a brand new baby." I said, "Well, I was." And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I'm all one to try. I'm like, "Oh, nobody else wants to? Sure, I'll do it." So,
you're up for an adventure.
Yeah. I mean, and when will I ever have the opportunity again?
So true.
I mean,
So true.
I totally wouldn't jump out of an airplane ever, but yeah, birth a pig. Why not? So, I mean, but there was so much that we learned on that trip too. And I mean, not that it somewhat out of my comfort zone. I knew no one there. I don't know if you knew anybody else, but really had not heard of anyone else except for, I don't even remember. No, I don't think I knew anyone. And so I have to rely on my, I'm outgoing, just cut up a conversation. But then those people, you and Molly and meeting Kara and all these different people that I would have never known ahead of time, never would have even thought to be like, "Oh yeah, I should follow you," or anything like that. And learning the different ways that we do and the way that we support each other. And, I'm kind of sassy and that's kind of why, I kind of, I guess gravitated towards you, and not that that's a bad thing at all. But I just enjoy the friendship.
That as a compliment.
Yes, you should, because everybody should have some sass in their life.
Absolutely. Which is your Instagram handle, Sassy Dietitian?
Yes, it is Sassy Dietitian Mom. That is my Instagram handle. And I love that because you have to be so PC in life, and I'm not the most PC person. And so I love that I have the outlet just to, say what I'm thinking and, do what I want to do. And I've always eaten what I always want to eat. And I do day to day what I want to do. And, if I don't sleep till 4:00 in the morning and I'm up at 7, and then, I'm drinking coffee that's more like a milkshake than black coffee, then so be it. So I kind of do my own thing.
I love that about you. That's what makes you such a good down to earth dietitian. And I love that about you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I do have some fun questions for you.
Okay.
I know that I asked you all these serious job questions. So,
okay.
What is your favorite food?
Ooh, probably pizza. I could eat pizza every single day of my life.
I am so with you on that. I love pizza. Do you have a favorite beverage?
Oh, this is so bad. Coke.
Real
Coca-Cola.
Coke, the real deal.
Yes, yeah. yes. No diet, nothing. No. Real deal Coke. Yes.
Yeah.
But if I'm every day, I like unsweet tea, and I can drink just regular water. I haven't jumped on the sparkly water bandwagon. It's not my thing.
Not your jam. That's okay.
No.
That's what's so great about having all these products. There's so many options that we can all find something that we like.
I know, it's kind of funny though, because I'm always recommending, LaCroix or something and I'm like, yeah, I don't care for it. I mean, and not that it's, my kids love it. I buy it at home. My kids love the grapefruit one, but yeah, I don't like it. So it is what it is. So I don't buy pop in my house. Everybody knows that. But, my colleagues think it's funny because they're like, "I can't believe you tell people that you drink pop." I'm like, I'm not giving up pop just because people think it's pure sugar. So is chocolate. So,
Absolutely.
it is what it is. So
do what feels right. Absolutely.
Right.
What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. That's been a popular answer. I like purple too. I'm with you on that as well. Maybe that's why we're drawn to each other. Same kind of color energies.
Yeah, it's because it's vibrant.
It is. It's happy and it's vibrant. I agree. Do you have a favorite scent or a smell?
Oh, clean laundry, coffee brewing. I don't know. I like going into a tire store. Is that weird?
Like the smell of rubber?
Yes.
Like tire rubber? Yeah.
Yes.
That's a first. I haven't heard that one. I like
Yes, I don't know why I like that smell for some weird reason. I love going and getting my car and it's like, they're like, are you going to stay? Why, yes, I am.
We need to get you a candle, like new tire scent.
Oh, but it wouldn't smell the same. Because, people like, a new car smells really good, but then they'll like get those, cheapy trees that everybody puts in their car. Yeah. Well, it doesn't smell like new car at all.
No.
So
I'm going to think of you next time I get new tires.
You should, while you're shelling out all that dough too.
Exactly.
At least I can smell, at least I can, steal some of their smell.
Yeah, there you go. I'll get some for Sarah. Just a little scent for Sarah.
Yeah, you got to find some good when you got to shell out that much money for tires.
I will now. Now that you said that, I totally will. It'll be a much better experience.
Exactly.
What brings you joy in life?
Ooh, my children, for the most part. There are days. I love to read. I love music, all kinds of music. I sing, whether people like it or not. Food, obviously, friendships, and, I love to craft. So I know that was probably more answers than you were looking for, but those kind of things kind of make me.
You are.
Yeah.
Maybe we have to do a podcast on all of those things.
Oh, absolutely. I could talk, girl, I could talk all day long. It's fun because when you're at work, you don't get to talk about all kinds of stuff. But I could talk a whole hour about cookbooks. I mean, I could. It is what it is. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Well, wait, I always think when I have these podcasts, I'm always like, we have to do a part 2, like a check-in at some point. So we can definitely get into some of that fun stuff about you next time we have a conversation.
Yeah, anytime, and hopefully, I'll be on and my phone won't cut off because I think it was my fault, but that is what it is.
That's okay. You know what happens. Technology is what it is.
Exactly. I have learned that. And sometimes it's not always better than the thing. My child asked me, what did he ask me the other day that I thought was so funny? Oh, I don't remember. They do ask me. They couldn't believe that we had color TV. I'm like, listen, I'm not quite there yet. So yes, we had color TV. But my kids are 12 and 8, so it's very fun, and I'm totally a boy mom. But they keep me. I did try to upload a Instagram post today. Camden got these like pop rock bath salt things, and they sound like sizzling bacon, but it's like pop rocks for the bathtub. And I made a video, but it wouldn't upload, so I don't know if it didn't show anything. But I thought, well, maybe it's because it's the bathtub. I don't know, but. Yeah, he was like, Mom, please, can you please take a video? I'm like, sure, Camden. I mean, they are more obsessed with, that. So, we'll see how it goes. That my Instagram and hopefully my blog, which is my New Year's resolution, will be my outlet just to do all different types of things. But yeah, totally would do a follow up because, it's just fun because I don't, you live in Iowa. I don't get to see anyone. So
I know. But I think that's neat that you're going to do blogging because it's a great way to stay connected with people. So you'll have to make sure to send me your link and all that stuff. So I can.
Oh, yes. I'm hoping we shall see. I don't know if my, I'm quite up to par as far as all the work that goes into it. If I will be able to be quite as fab as some of our cohorts.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. As long as you enjoy doing it, that's all that matters.
That is one cool thing though about our job is there's so many cool blogs and dietitians out there. I mean, so many dietitians. I didn't realize there was that many dietitians till we started doing all this. I'm like, wow.
I know.
So that's fun.
Podcast, because it is, I just get to meet so many different dietitians.
I know, because when you put it on there, I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, like just different people. It's neat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if you listen to, if you like, you had the microphone in my car, you'd be like, whoa, she's, you know. So yeah, like, oh, that's who she, you know, and I'll answer Instagram posts like in my out loud, and then I'm like, oh, I probably should type that.
I should. Someday you won't have to type it. You'll just be able to say it. That'd be amazing.
I know. That would be great. Not yet, but one of these days. And then, you know, of course, mine would be, they would have to like, you know, filter it probably. Because that's one good thing about, you know, I have to be really careful, but, you know, I'm like, I could care less. So
be who you are. Be who you are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. And
thank
you. Trying to stay warm,
yes.
Get your coat on and get home for the day.
Yes. Grilled cheese for dinner. That's what we're having.
Perfect. That sounds delicious.
Yes.
All right.
Well, enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Sarah is just the most genuine person I have really met along the way. And she is so brave. While we were on the pig farm, which we didn't talk about this really in the podcast, they told us we might have an opportunity to help deliver baby pigs. And she was right there and ready to volunteer. And she delivered a baby pig, which I think is amazing. That alone explains to you the person Sarah is. Truly willing to try anything, and she really does give everything her all. Along with Nick Sticks, I still like to pair them with Jolly Time Healthy Pop popcorn. I really have started bringing this as my everyday snack to work because it's very filling with the fiber from the popcorn and the protein from the Nick Sticks. It's a really good balanced snack for me, and it might be something that you like to try. You can find more recipes and other coupons at jollytime.com. Head on over to my website, annelizabethrd.com, where you can read my latest weekly wisdom blog post. That's where I share any current adventures I'm having, some of my favorite food, workout music, and things that are motivating me to maybe cook in the kitchen with a recipe or maybe something else that I love right now. You can also purchase my book and find all my previous podcast show notes and links to things we talked about during all my conversations with these rock star people. I also would love to connect with you on social media, and you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at AnnElizabethRD. Remember to be great, always find the joy in each day, and to start a conversation that truly matters.